All right, 1 2 1 2. What's up, y'all? Frank Red in the house on a late night check on Friday night. Another edition of the Dungeon program. I gotta tell you, and I've said it before, I'm gonna get it right. But creating the show, hosting the show, producing the show, doing everything, it is not easy. Kind of takes me back to when I first started doing radio, and thank God no one was listening at the time. And by the time we actually became pretty good, we had things together. So in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm starting over again. And that's not a bad thing. And I think what I want to do with this particular show, the Dungeon show, is encourage others to jump on board and start creating content. I think it's like coaching. So a lot of times you have fans, and they're all over the players, they're all over the coaches, and they never coached before. And I used to always say when I was on the radio, anybody can try this. Anybody can do this. Go down to your local city rec department and just say you want to volunteer. They got a gazillion teams that you can coach. And, I think maybe a couple people might have taken me up on it, but just kind of thinking about, the process of organizing everything and dealing with a lot of different variables to reach a common goal resonated with some people. Not all, but doing this, and I think sports talk and radio is very related to sports because there's a lot of stuff that the public doesn't see that you have to do to make it work. And that's kind of where we are at this point. As I said before, one of the things that I demand from myself, and I can tell, and you can tell as well, if any show prep has been done. If somebody just kind of shows up and, they pick up a newspaper or they got a couple of hot topics they want to talk about and they just start rambling, you know that. And it kind of takes away from the whole performance. It definitely does. So I don't do that. I never will do that. My name is Frank Red. I think I got one person listening or watching the show at this point. Thank you for hanging in there. I appreciate you. This is the Dungeon show. You can hit me up at Big Frank Red on Twitter if you like the show. After you've checked it out, and you have not subscribed, then go ahead and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it, and it certainly helps the show. Now, there's a lot to talk about tonight, and I'm going to run through some of the topics from the start. As some of you guys know, I am a big advocate of basketball, and that certainly includes the WNBA. I'm going to talk about my favorite WNBA player, Sabrina Ionescu, young lady from Northern California, from the Bay, out of Oregon. She did something I don't know if it's ever been done before. She hit 20 straight three-pointers in the three-point shooting contest to crush the competition and win that award. And to me, her displaying that level of excellence is just an indication of where we are in women's basketball. It's unbelievable how good these young ladies are at this point. And this is the 27th season of the WNBA. So it's not like it started yesterday, because they've been around for a long period of time. And guess what? I guess it takes 25 years. You had the Houston Comets, and they were really good. Cynthia Cooper, and so many other stars. Lisa Leslie, quite a few stars. But those stars kind of lived in isolation. They were clearly better than everybody else. The Houston Comets won like 4 straight championships. But right now in the WNBA, you have a level of parity. There's probably about 5 or 6 teams that are really, really good. They only have 12 in the entire league. But the level of excellence that is displayed on the court on a nightly basis is what really attracts me. So we're talking about Sabrina Ionescu and also Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray of the Las Vegas Aces. They won the skill competition. So we're going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk a little bit about Stephen Curry, who's out in Tahoe now doing his thing at the ACC Celebrity Golf Tournament, golf tournament that he likes to frequent with his dad and his brother. But he's in first place. He had 27 points today to take the first spot. Really good golfer. And I don't know if we have any golf fans out there, but I wouldn't mind talking about that because I actually know golf very well because I was a caddy for 10 years. And so I don't really play because I don't have the time. And, the game is pretty expensive, but I know the game. I really appreciate it. So if you want to talk a little golf, we can do that as well. At some point, before I go off, I want to mention Rand Paul, the senator out of Kentucky. And he was actually talking, in Congress, maybe to fellow senators. I'm not quite sure who he was talking to. But he was talking about what's going on between Live Golf and the PGA and some of their challenges. And then he kind of veered off and started talking about NIL and how that is literally the detriment of mankind and how, pretty soon all college players are going to be like rappers driving Rolls Royces and fancy cars. And clearly there was some connotation associated with this comment. And we might revisit that. But this kind of shows you how off the wall some people are. 2-3 years ago when NIL came in, everybody, some of the most famous coaches were talking as if this is going to ruin college sports. It hasn't. And the irony is, student athletes in some of the non-traditional sports are the ones that's killing it right now. The gymnasts, the women's softball players, the women basketball players. So there's enough money to go around for everybody, and it's certainly not affecting what's taking place on the various fields in college basketball and college football and all the other sports as well. So I might talk about that. I'm also going to talk about the Hollywood actors joining the writers in their strike against Hollywood, the Hollywood studios, to get what I think is fair compensation for their talent. And the connection to sports is, after people, not greedy, but after people stop feeling sorry for folks from ESPN and some of the other companies that are really highly paid, no one wants to see anybody lose their job. I don't care how much money you make, it's not a good thing. But this is all prep work for ESPN because I think that NBA, this is my opinion, and some of the other sports entities have let it be known that the door is open for other networks to come through and have a legitimate chance to commandeer some of those properties. And ESPN, I don't believe wants that to happen. So I think that they're looking for ways to fill their coffers so they can maintain the NBA. Because you watch the summer now, the NBA Summer League, it is hot. People are so interested. Going to Summer League games in Las Vegas used to be like going to Disneyland. Just pick a hotel you want to be in, schedule it, and make the trip down there, and there was really no problem. Now, that first week to go to Las Vegas to watch a Summer League game, it's not easy. It costs a lot of money. You might not get the hotel that you want. You might not see your favorite team anymore. And oh, by the way, the NBA has just introduced something called NBA Comic-Con. Like a weekend, the first weekend in which they are playing games, they're doing clinics, they're doing everything possible to draw people in. And they're doing a good job. And I think the networks, definitely ESPN, wants to hold on to that property if they can, and they know that it's going to cost them a lot more money. So I think hence some of the layoff of some of the high-priced talent that they have within the company. And I'll speak to the connection about content creators, writers, actors. I'm a content creator, and to think that you would do all the work and then give it to somebody else, and down the road, if it's still being profited from, you don't receive any of that, it's not a good deal. So I think, with AI coming on strong, writers and actors want to make sure that they can reap some of the benefits of their talents down the road as they get older. And just in terms of fairness, why should the studios reap all the benefits of the talent that is being exhibited by multiple parties? So I think that's what they're waiting for. And we're talking about 6 to 8 weeks now. We knew that nothing was going to happen with the actors and the writers until we got closer to September, which is when the networks need new content. So I would expect within the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe I'm wrong, but I would expect within the next 2 or 3 weeks for some movement in a new contract to actually happen. Also want to talk a little NFL because you know what? Next week's camp start opening, and it sucks for me because I'm not like a diehard Giant fan, but I root for the Giants. I'm from New York. The Maras own the Giants. Wellington Mara went to Fordham, where I went. So I followed the Giants for a long period of time, and my favorite coach of all time is Bill Parcells. For them not to pay Saquon Barkley, to me, is crazy. To me, it's cheap. So you got a number of running backs out there that are having to settle for what I don't think is market value compared to what was market value 4 or 5 years ago. Running back is probably the only position that has gone down in terms of compensation. So I want to talk about that because the players do have rights. If they have not signed their tenders, they could sit out. Teams can get up to a slow start. I remember when Emmitt Smith held out for the Dallas Cowboys. They were a mess. And then ultimately he came back and they got rolling. We're talking in the 90s here. So if you have any thoughts about that, I actually think that the guy that killed it for NFL running backs was Isaiah Pacheco, the 7th round pick out of Rutgers, who's on the KC Chiefs now. That dude runs like his feet are on fire. He's a 7th round pick, played at Rutgers for a team that's not very good. Not very good at all. So we're going to talk some NFL, you can. And as I said, we're going to talk a little bit also about the NBA Summer League because I'm amazed every day. I really am. My biggest miss was, and I got a good reason for it, but my biggest miss in the NBA draft was Amen and Ansar Thompson, the Thompson twins. Are you guys watching this stuff? Ansar was on Detroit. This dude is a flat-out stud. He's like Dennis Rodman with ball handling skills, and he can shoot. Detroit's going to be good pretty quick, and Houston is going to be good pretty quick. Will they make the playoffs this year? No, I don't think so. But I tell you what, they're not going to be an easy win like they have been over the past 5 years. I love what I'm seeing from the Detroit Pistons young guys. And Ansar Thompson, love how he plays. I mean, very instinctive. And like I said before, when I was evaluating all of the draft picks, I really couldn't tell how good he was on his tape. It just wasn't a great tape to me. But I loved this interview. And when you see him on the court, dude is full speed all the time. All the time. And in this era of basketball, for whatever reason, coaches feel like they have to teach intensity. And that's one thing that you should not have to teach as a coach. You should expect everybody to get out there and play really, really hard. And the Thompson win do. Shout out to all of the many coaches that they've had. Shout out to their parents. But I want to give most of the credit to those two young men because they play hard all the time. I mean, I am really amazed by that. And it really bodes well for the NBA. I mean, you look at some of the better players in the league. Steph Curry, he could talk about playing to 40. I don't think he's going to do it. I think Steph is probably going to play another 3 years. I don't want to see Steph Curry playing and not looking like Steph Curry. To me, I would love for him to go out on top with another championship. If he wins the championship this year, do I want him to retire? Hell no. I want him to get all his money and play his contract out and then transition to, the senior golf tour. Although he's not. No, he can't do that because he's not 50. But I want to see his second act. Whatever his second act is, I want to see that. But being a 5-time champion, maybe a 6-time champion, who knows? I think the point I'm making is that the NBA is well stocked for the future. And it bodes well for this generation of fans and players. The money, I think, will continue to go up. I mean, look at Chet Holmgren. I mean, no one's going to say that somebody getting injured was a good thing. I'll say that he benefited from being out next year. From being out last year. Because he's on fire. And the thing about Chet was nobody ever doubted whether or not he was aggressive and he was engaging in terms of how he played the game. But sitting out for a year, he's more aggressive. I mean, you can talk about his offense, but on defense, the guy competes. He got a good shot at being rookie of the year. Scoot Henderson is my choice. I think Scoot's going to win, but it's not going to be a landslide by any stretch, regardless of who wins it. If it's Victor Wembanyama, if it's Chet Holmgren, if it's Scoot Henderson, if it's one of the Thompson twins. The NBA has a lot of good young players. I'm interested in seeing how that's going to play out. A little closer to home, I was going at it quite a bit over the past couple of days with people on Twitter who wanted to talk about the Golden State Warriors. And in fans' eyes, the sky is falling. The Warriors are not going to be any good. How are they going to championship? I'm like, slow down. There's one area of how they do business that they clearly kind of hit a bump in the road, and that's talent evaluation. There's no doubt about it. I think everybody who watched the Summer League yesterday, who's kind of in tune to what's going on a little bit, kept thinking to themselves, what if the Warriors had drafted Cam Whitmore? He was drafted number 20th by the Houston Rockets. The Warriors at 19 took Brandon Basinski. Even if Brandon becomes a solid NBA player, I don't think he's going to be better than Cam Whitmore unless something unforeseen happens to Cam. Can you imagine Cam Whitmore on the Warriors right now? Getting a talent at 19 that's basically a lottery pick? I don't know how you recover from that. That's going to be tough. It really is. I think that they rallied a little bit with Chris Jackson Davis, and that was a sigh of relief, I'm sure, to management, because although he was a 54th pick, he was clearly a first-round draft pick. And he showed a lot of the things yesterday that he showed during his 4 years at Indiana. He has really soft hands. He can block shots. He's a good defensive rebounder. I don't know how great an offensive rebounder he is, but he's a good defensive rebounder. And he showed a lot of those skills yesterday. So you only have so many minutes. You have Looney. You have Dario Saric, who's going to play. And then you got Jackson Davis. So we'll see how much time he gets, but he's not going to be a flop. That guy's going to be a player, no doubt. The Warriors are going to keep that one spot open. I'm convinced now. Quinones, he would be fortunate to get a two-way contract. And I mean, if the Warriors offered him a two-way contract, I think he'd be smart to take it. As we saw last year, you can make as much as $500,000 on a two-way contract. And I think Quinones is, that's still where he is. I think Lester has a chance to be an NBA player, but I don't think the Warriors are going to sign him to a standard NBA contract. I don't see that. And I'll say the same thing for Gus Santos. Good player, but not definitive enough in his play to the point where the Warriors organization wouldn't have any doubt about him. He still does a lot of things that says that he needs more time in the G League, or he needs to split time between the NBA and the G League. So I don't think he's getting a contract either. Those are some of the topics I put out there. Do you have any comments? Anything that you want to talk about that I did not raise? Feel free to put that in the chat. And we can talk about it. My name is Frank Red. This is in the Dungeon program. And yeah, so I set the table for you. Looking at the NFL, there's a lot of excitement. I mean, the NFL is the one league that it's not hyperbole and it's not false hope. I think all 32 teams probably in their minds believe more than any other sport that they have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. And then reality kind of kicks in after game one or game two. But it is not uncommon for teams that were not very good last year to go through a bit of a metamorphosis and actually have a good season. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to transpire. The NFL is the most competitive league. I think the NBA is getting closer, but I would say the NFL is still really competitive. I mean, take a look at the AFC East. All of those teams really, can say without crossing their fingers that they think they got a good chance to actually win the division and compete for a Super Bowl. The New York Jets, the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, and not the Patriots. Minus the Patriots. I think if the Patriots, it would be a surprise if the Patriots made the playoffs. Let's be honest. And I think that you can blame Belichick, but I don't think anybody's really excited about their quarterback. Good player, but not on the level of some of the other teams within that division. So, but 3 teams have a legitimate chance, I think, at possibly winning that division. The KCs of the world, the Baltimores, and I would say the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to be game busters, but Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. So you know that from a fundamental standpoint, they're going to be ready to go. And out west, we're still waiting for San Diego to live up to their potential. They have the talent, but it's still a big question mark. Josh McDaniels, I'm just not a believer in Josh McDaniels. I'm just not. And it has nothing to do with his coaching prowess. It's just kind of how he operates. The Derek Carr uncoupling to me was handled totally wrong. That was bad. That was bad. And even like Josh Jacobs. If you don't like Josh Jacobs, let him go. All right, why tender the guy? Just let him go. They didn't even guarantee the final year of his contract. Then he went out and balled out, and they tagged him. I mean, just stuff like that. I don't like how he operates. I just don't. I really don't. So, and Josh is like, you know what? I got $10 million guaranteed in the bag. I don't have to show up. I can wait until the very end to even sign my tender. Now, if you're the Raiders, a team that desperately wants to make the playoffs, don't you want all of your ducks in a row? Don't you want all of your players aligned with your coaches? And they're not. Denver, I don't know. I mean, to me, Russell Wilson and his new coach, Sean Clayton, not Sean Clayton, they're not on this. I mean, they just seem to be polar opposites to me. And I want Russell to play well. Sean Payton, excuse me. But I don't know. I think Sean Payton is like, well, we owe him a lot of money. I'll give him a chance. We'll see what happens. But does anybody get the sense that this is going to be a marriage made in heaven? I don't think so. I just want the guy to play well. Maybe they can trade him to go somewhere else and give Sean Payton an opportunity to get a quarterback in there that he wants to go with. Ronnie Glacier, what's up, my brother? What's up? Yeah, man. It's funny, Brian, because I've been on there talking now for about 29 minutes, almost 30 minutes. And I remember you talking about, being a producer and looking at the phone lines, there was nobody there. You would run through all of the topics, and you still got to go, man. And that's kind of how I feel. But you got to do it. It's fun. I think this is where you really, really are at your best. You get a chance to work on your craft when you are prepared and you just go. That's what I love. I mean, I don't love watching Summer League basketball as much as the regular season of the NBA, but I get hyped. I love watching Summer League basketball because these guys are playing for their lives, man. They really are. It's nothing like it. I was talking a little earlier, and I know you're a talent guy. Can you believe how good the Thompson twins are? Ansar Thompson? Wow. He got legit point guard skills at 6'7". He's a defender. He's a finisher. I got to give the scouts a lot of credit. Houston and Detroit, they knew what they were looking for. Now, I didn't like the tape they put out there. I didn't like the overtime elite tape. I didn't like it. But I love their interview. And literally, it took about 5 minutes of watching both of these guys play to realize that they had something special. Both of those guys are exceptional, and they're going to be good NBA players. Also, we're talking about how, some Warrior fans are ready to jump off the ledge at this point. I don't know if they think the Warriors are going to be like a lottery team or something next year. I'm like, just slow down, man. Are they bet heavy? Yes, they are. But life is a year to your proposition. I look at the Warriors, and I think that they're probably going to be a 4th or 5th seed this year coming up, as opposed to a 6th seed last year, with an opportunity to win an opening round series. And you win an opening round series, then you got action. One of the things about basketball that is unlike other sports, major sports, is you only have 5 guys on the court at one time. It's 5. You can have a gang of players on the bench that never get in, as long as you got 5. And I would say that the Warriors can put together a 5-man unit on the court that can compete against anybody. So when you consider that and you look at the playoffs, what are you going to play, 9? Max? What are you going to play? For all these teams that have all of this talent, the Lakers have signed a whole bunch of players that are not going to really play. I like the Warriors bench. Chris Paul, Moses Moody, Dario Saric, and Jonathan Kuminga. Right? That's 9 guys. And if they have to play more than 9, and they can, then they're really cooking with grease. I think their top 9 is really, really solid. All right? Got any comments? Hit me up, y'all, in the comment section. Or hit me up on Twitter @BigFrankRed. Hit the subscribe button as well. I also, like I mentioned, that Brian says, speaking of the Thompson twins, those parents must be as proud getting their son strapped. Oh my God. Absolutely. And the thing about it is, and I didn't really know this, but those kids are from Oakland. They're literally from Oakland, California. And because it was during the pandemic time, they never really, maybe they went to middle school in Oakland or something like that, but when they really started to emerge as basketball players, because of COVID, the dad took them to Florida. They moved to Florida. So I'm sure they had promise at 11, 12, 13, but nothing like we see now. But can you imagine 2 more stud players coming from the Bay Area, from the city of Oakland? Because both of those guys are going to be hits. That's for sure. And if you watch any of the interviews of the parents, you would have to be impressed, because I'm talking A+. Everything that they talked about in terms of parenting, in terms of preparing their sons for life beyond basketball, was spot on. So it's a wonderful story. I think it also creates another legitimate lane for how you get to where you want to get to. Because for a long period of time, college was the traditional route to get to the NBA. And I'm still a real strong advocate of going to college. With that said, I realize that it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But Brian says, I wonder if they played for the Oakland Soldiers. I don't think they did. I don't think they did. I'm not totally sure. I'm kind of locked into the Soldiers a little bit. And Carl Foster at one time was the director of one of their programs. So I don't know for sure, but they're definitely from Oakland. I do know that. And those young men are elite. So I'm excited about that. But the point I was making is there's not one way to get to where you want to get to, which is the NBA for a lot of young talented basketball players. The one thing I can say about G League Elite is two people who were influential in building that program I know personally. So Brian Shaw, I consider Brian Shaw to be a friend, not a close friend, but I know B. Shaw pretty well. And you're talking class personified. And he had Kuminga and Galen Green during the pandemic. So if ever you want to have an adult around those talented young men, B. Shaw is one person that you would want to do that with. So I'm not surprised that they got off to a good start, but they barely had any games. They only had 15 games. It's amazing. And Jason Hart has continued the positive things out of G League Elite that B. Shaw did. Maybe take it to a whole nother level. I guess they're out of Las Vegas now. And the other person I know is Sharif Abdul-Rahim, the former Cal great, had a 10-plus year career. Sharif is a stand-up guy, another class personified type guy. So I'm not surprised under his leadership and his direction that G League Elite is very careful in terms of who they bring into their organization and how diligent they are about getting the work in to help these young men really develop. So the one thing that I would like to know about G League Elite and overtime is what happens to the guys that don't make it. Now, there's a lot of players who do make it. A G League Elite right now, I believe, has 10 guys within the NBA system on some level, which is pretty darn good, and it's more than any college has put into the league probably over the past 3 to 5 years. But I'm interested in how many players come in, how many players don't make it. Not that if you don't make the NBA, that means you didn't make it, because there's a lot of money to be made in other leagues around the world. So you can reach your goal by not necessarily making it to the NBA. I'm a strong advocate of education. To look at, I don't think it's by mistake that a guy like Abaji went to Kansas for 3 years. Over that period of time, he became an NBA player. When he came to Kansas, he was a good player. He's a late bloomer. He's a good player. But I don't think anybody saw that coming. And the same thing for Christian Braun. Christian Braun was at Kansas for 3 years, went through the system, matured, and worked himself into a position where he could be strongly considered to have an NBA career. So there's not one way to do it, but I think young people benefit from going to college. That's why when Bronny James, along with his family, decided that he was going to go to college, I thought that was a good decision. It's almost like they're pegging him to stay 1 year in college, which is tough. It's a lot of pressure, for a kid who's Bronny's like 6'2", maybe 6'3", with sneakers on, but that's how tall he is. He's not the worst thing in the world. He shoots the lights out of the ball. So I think over a period of time, he could develop into an NBA player. But the kid Collier, who's his teammate, is ranked much higher than he is. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to be a one-and-done player. Now, politics of the game of basketball um, are real. And depending upon who you are, who your agent is, who your parents are, that could have some effect on where you're drafted. The great thing about the NBA is, if you're not an NBA player, you won't be in the NBA. Okay? I've never seen anybody get a free pass to the NBA. I haven't seen it. Shaq's kid didn't get a free pass to the NBA. He's not even in the league. So, Rick Barry's kids, all of them, only the ones who were good enough. John and Brent. But he had other sons who were really good, but not quite good enough to be in the NBA. And I think that's the beauty of the NBA. If you're not good enough, then you're probably not going to make it. And I think Bronny is good enough. So in terms of where he's drafted, that can be somewhat political. But I think he's a good enough player. But I don't know where he's going to be spotted. So we got a lot to look forward to. Usually, like I said before, sports talk show hosts would dread July 14th on a Friday night. They would run for cover. And then all of a sudden they would come back refreshed after a trip to Mexico, Jamaica, Barbados, somewhere hot with a lot of water and some tropical drinks. And as soon as the NFL camps would open up, they turn their mics on and start talking again. And the poor slugs who had to grind away talking about Wimbledon while they were out, they could go back to doing whatever they were doing before. That's not the case anymore. And we're all the better for it. Although I'm the type of person, I think that you can find something to talk about. There's something really, there's always interesting stuff to talk about, particularly when you have the view that I have, because I like other things beyond sport. I'm really passionate about a lot of different things. My man Rye, who has a podcast called West Coast Bias. Check it out. I've already been on it. It's really good. The first day that Mission Impossible came out, I believe Rye checked that movie out. And I am a movie guy. I generally go to movies on Friday night. I didn't go tonight. I said, I'm going to do a podcast. But I'm going to go see Mission Impossible tomorrow. And based on what I hear, the movie lives up to the hype. And I can't wait. That's going to be a lot of fun. I love movies. And most of the movies that I like are of the spy genre. I love those movies. I could watch a new Jason Bourne movie every year. I wish they made a new Jason Bourne movie every year. And it doesn't have to be Matt Damon. Matt Damon's the best. But they killed the other kind of Jason Bourne-esque movie. I can't think of the guy's name. But it wasn't horrible. It's actually pretty good. So I like those spy-type movies. I'm watching Jack Ryan right now on Amazon Prime. Don't like the system of Amazon Prime, but Jack Ryan's dope. That's a dope series. It's the last year of that. I also watched Citadel on Amazon Prime, which was sneaky good. That was really good. And there was a series called The Old Man on Hulu. It started on FX and then they moved to Hulu. That was pretty good also. So if you have any interest in movies, feel free to comment about that. My name is Frank Red, everybody. And this is in the Dungeon Program. You hit me up at Big Frank Red on Twitter, and also hit the subscribe button if you're not. If you're not subscribed yet. Brian says, have you watched Quarterback on Netflix? I'm the one person. I'm a part of that community in the world that doesn't have Netflix. Yeah, I went to visit my mother last week on the West Coast, right? I'm sorry, on the East Coast. And I got a chance to watch as many movies as I could on Netflix, right? and so tell me about it. I assume it's good, Ryan. Otherwise, you wouldn't have mentioned it. Extraction 2, that's dope. I love Extraction 2. I love those movies. I even like the movie The Old Guard. I watched that as well. So, Netflix has a couple of spy movies that I really like. The Extraction 2. Can you imagine if Extraction 1 and Extraction 2 were actually shown in the theater? Netflix. I think Netflix should say, listen, there can be like and they do it sometimes. Sometimes they'll let the films play out for 1 or 2 weeks in the theater, and then they'll grab them and play it on Netflix. Sometimes they don't, but I would do that. Just to cut some of the costs, because they're picking great projects to pay for, and maybe. I think what Netflix is probably going to do down the road, if they don't already do it, they'll farm them out to some of the cable entities, and have them pay for them, So they're smart enough to know what to do to make their money back, no doubt about that. The Charlotte Hornets shut Reggie Miller down after he had one good game. He was not very good in the California Classic, and he was not very good in Vegas until Game 3. I'm still concerned because I see poor footwork. I see bad body language, which doesn't speak to a whole lot of leadership. The Alabama scenario that he was involved in is not going to go away really quickly, because you are talking about a colossal breakdown in decision making. I'm not going to say that he was responsible for that horrible tragedy, because he's not, but his decision making, that's on him. There's no way in this world that someone could ask me to put their gun in my hand and bring it to them. The gun won't even be in my car. So, you bring me my gun? Of course I can. No, that's not happening. So, I want to different part of the world, and they got different rules. And maybe it's one of those moments of he wasn't thinking, and he shouldn't have to live with that for the rest of his life. But to think it's going to go away that quickly, it's not going to happen. It's not. I hope he has a wonderful career and he's able to kind of put that behind him. But in some ways, there's a stigma there, and that's unfortunate. I wish it never happened. You know what I'm saying? For anybody. So, I'll be interested in seeing how Randy Miller's first year turns out, because he's going to have to deal with some adversity. And early on in his career, he hasn't really dealt with it that well. He had one good game. That's it. Brian said, I just finished it tonight. Okay. In my opinion, it's the best sports doc out right now. I truly have a greater affinity for QBs in the NFL. It's a great watch. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with all of my viewing pleasures, if you will. Because I never got the NFL package before. I'm going to get it this year because it's on YouTube. I'm going to get it this year. That's one thing. I have a full package for Comcast. What am I doing with Comcast? I have no idea. But I do have Comcast. I have all these channels that I don't really watch all of them, but I do have them. Probably going to get Hulu. I was using one of my friends' numbers. That stopped working. And then you got Netflix. So, I mean, you can run up very easily $300 a month. Very easily. And even for somebody like myself who doesn't really spend a whole lot of money in other forms of entertainment, that's still a significant amount of money. So I need to figure it out. But yeah, I'm certainly intrigued by what's going down with Netflix and all of the great programming that they have. But even more now, Brian, that you mentioned that you think it's a really good doc on quarterback. So maybe I'll do that. Talking about the Summer League, there's a lot of surprises. Probably the biggest surprise is maybe Nick Smith, who's on the Charlotte Hornets, drafted 27th overall. Talented kid, very talented. Couldn't stay healthy at Arkansas. I think he was a little delusioned with regards to how he was projecting to NBA scouts. And basically got a dose of reality because he probably lost $7 to $8 million. Maybe not 7 to 8, but definitely 6 or 7. Can you imagine that kid staying in school one more year or having a great freshman year as opposed to that year? I mean, you get drafted 27th, you're literally what? You're 4 picks from not even being in the first round. So, I mean, they all have calculators in their mind. I think his calculator was going in the wrong direction. And he was tearing it up. He was very serious. He was pissed off. And maybe that's what some players need because he came to Sacramento, he came to Vegas pissed off. And he's played that way. And I think that as a result, he's going to get minutes. You know, you got Lonzo, who has cemented his importance to the Charlotte Hornets by what they gave him, that $260 million guaranteed contract. So he's the man there. I think Nick Smith Jr. is going to get some minutes behind him. Maybe he and Lonzo will play together a little bit. I don't know. I just know he's a talent. And he surprised a lot of people. I wanted the Warriors to take him. Okay? I'll just say that. The Lakers had talked about taking him. Instead, they drafted Portofino, who I like, but quickness is kind of a factor for him. He's smart. I think he'll kind of figure it out. But based on what I saw this summer, I don't think he's going to play much for the Lakers this year. I just don't. His lack of athleticism is going to hold him down a little bit, and he's going to really have to lean on his IQ. And that's going to take some time. I think he'll get there, but I don't see him playing a lot this year. I think the Lakers probably would have done a little better had they drafted Nick Smith Jr. So, you know, we'll see. Quietly, the Sacramento Kings killed it. To me, they killed it. Traded the 24th pick, and Rashawn Holmes to clear up cap space, and basically got a first-round pick with the 34th pick in Kobe Jones. Kobe Jones is a real player. That dude's good. And then they got Chris Duarte, who was a top 10 pick from Indiana, and he's going to give them more depth. Unless he has, you know, some serious injuries that we don't know about, but we assume he's healthy. He's just going to add depth to Sacramento. And they got a young man from Europe, Sasha Latenkov, who looks pretty good as well. So I have to big up Monty McNair. I mean, he's doing big things up there. No doubt about that. As I said, I wanted to highlight my favorite WNBA player, Sabrina Ionescu, who made 20. I mean, I'll be honest. A lot of people won't be honest, but I will be honest. I'm shocked, pleasantly shocked and surprised how good the women have become in terms of their skill. They've always played with intensity, and that was enough for me. Great passing, great teamwork, intensity, good basketball. Yeah, I'm with it. But the X factor is their skill level. You got some players in the WNBA who will flat out give you 40. You know, at the local Y. I mean, can you imagine like some jacked up cat who looks at women players and says, you're not that good. Sabrina will give you 40, homeboy. You know, she will give you 40. Kelsey Plum, leave her open. Good luck with that one. Asia Wilson, what? Brianna Stewart? Come on, man. They got some really good players in WNBA. They really do. But you got to get over that. Well, I don't like women's basketball. It's basketball. Leave that alone. All right? Tiger Woods excuse me. Stephen Curry. I'm so used to watching Tiger play. Stephen Curry is doing his thing in Tahoe. They call it a century for years. And now I guess it's the ACC Celebrity Golf Tournament. But beyond Pebble Beach, that is the most beautiful background that they have in golf. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I can't recall a year when they actually had bad weather playing in Tahoe. Every year is picturesque. Every year. Every year there's a picture of Steph, you know, knocking down like a three-pointer from somewhere. You know, put his golf club down and knock down a three. So they got a good thing going. And, you know, to see Stephen Curry playing well, chilling with his brother and chilling with his dad, that's a good look for me. So I want to see how good he can become, too. College football. I love the game, but I'm not like a lot of fans who are on pins and needles. I just know we're going to have a terrific college football season. I'm going to be on top of all of it because I really love college football. And literally, you know, we're a couple of weeks away. I'm interested in seeing how Williams does in his second year at USC. The reigning Heisman Trophy winner. I want to see how well Coach Prime does at Colorado. The Pac-12, listen. And I know because people listening, if you follow college football, you know that the SEC has been all over it since forever. The Pac-12 is going to be really good this year. Really good. Good depth. Oregon State's going to be good. Washington's going to be good. Oregon's going to be good. USC's going to be good. UCLA is going to be good. Cal, not so much. Stanford, not so much. Utah State's going to be good. So, you know, that's a really, really good league. And they play a pro style of football. It's going to be tough for me watching Stanford rebuild, though. You know, I'm used to Stanford being really, really competitive. It's going to take some time. I like how Stanford plays football. And I like to see them do well because of everything that they bring to the table. They think that they can compete on a national level as well as they do for as long as they have. pretty remarkable. It really is. And to see them kind of go through a rebuilding phase, and it started last year, really, but that's going to be kind of tough. I love watching Notre Dame football. I love it. I don't know if it's the uniforms, I don't know if it's the history of the Irish, but I have no allegiance to Notre Dame. The only allegiance that I have to Notre Dame is Joe Montana. That's it. But I think it's their uniform. I really love how they put things together, and their stadium. Something about how it resonates on television is pretty cool. That I really like. So I'm interested in seeing that. So we're up on an hour here. We talked about it. And hopefully you found some of the stuff interesting that we put out there. The NBA Summer League is starting to wind down. I guess they're going to pick the 4 teams that have the best records and some cumulative formula that they have. But it's still basketball. So we'll continue to watch that. But we are on the cusp of NFL camps opening up. I didn't really want any part of, sounds like a saga. Sounds like all my children, as the 49ers turn. The conversation around who's going to be their quarterback, who should be their quarterback, I'm not really interested in that. And the reason why I'm not interested in that is because all 3 guys are good. And if you have an opinion on it, it's a subjective opinion. Purely subjective. The only one you can say that's kind of played a long season is Donald. And as much as I like him, he's had his moments when you would say to yourself, is he really an NFL quarterback? I like his talent. I think he's good. But there's a lot that's happened to Sam Darnold that would make you question whether or not he could be a starting quarterback on a team challenging for a Super Bowl. Now, Brock Purdy played his tail off last year. I have no problem with him being the starter. But to say that he is definitively better than Trey Lance or even Sam Darnold, not by my eye, not by my untrained eye. Now, I am no quarterback guru. I'm not at the practices. I don't see the errant throws that these guys throw. They're not throwing every pass like it was the best pass they've ever thrown. So they all make mistakes. And I'm not there in person, so I really can't comment on that. But the idea of who's going to be the 49ers starting quarterback is not very interesting to me. In spite of the fact that people want to know, they want to talk about it, it produces crazy numbers. You know how many people on YouTube, on pins and needles, worried about who's going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers? Crazy. I'm not that interested in it. I just want to see you line it up. Game 1, even the first preseason game. I just want to see football because I've watched enough football to know that the quarterback position, albeit the most important position, most of the time is not the determining factor of whether or not you win the Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer has won a Super Bowl, by the way, all right? As the starting quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. He won a Super Bowl. Why? He's a great leader. He was a great quarterback. He was a great leader. And he made a Pro Bowl, by the way. So it wasn't like the guy was a scrub or anything. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that there's so many other different variables that play a role in winning a Super Bowl. I go back to when the 49ers lost to the the New York Giants when Parcells brought his team to Candlestick and eked out a victory. That wasn't about quarterback. It was about Roger Craig fumbling the ball. That's what it was about. If Roger Craig doesn't fumble that ball, the 49ers probably win. They definitely win. The Chicago Bulls defense was that 86? And they had Jim McMahon play quarterback. Jim McMahon, in this era of football, out of 32 teams, Jim McMahon would probably be ranked somewhere between 15 and 20 to 21. That's where he would be ranked. Based on his skill set, based on his numbers, he would only be somewhere between 15 and 21. That's where he would be. They won a Super Bowl going away. They crushed the opposition. Why? Because they had a great defense. That's why. So, who's going to be the 49ers starting quarterback? Doesn't take a whole lot of my headspace up. It doesn't. That's different for fans. Fans love it. Not that big a deal with me. All right. I want to thank you for sticking with me and listening to what I have to say. And when I'm inspired, I don't care who's listening. I do a show, man. And I put an hour in. If I can do it. Got a lot to talk about, and we'll continue to do it, all right? Maybe we'll do another show on Sunday based on what transpired this weekend. We'll figure it out. But I want to thank you for locking in the dungeon with me tonight. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get out of here. My man, Brian Iglesias, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you, man, so much. And whomever else is listening, thank you. Thank you. You know, I do the show for myself, but I do it for the listeners as well. And if you like what you heard, direct somebody to the website and they can listen to the show down the road, all right? And have them subscribe to the show. I'm gonna stick to my rule. Once I have 100 subscribers, then I'll start inviting people on the show, and we'll do some interviews and maybe get some personalities on here. In the meantime, it's gonna be me and you, and I love it. All right, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna get out of here. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things that other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. All right, good night, everybody. Peace. I'm Frank Webb.